Hello, this is Spellbinder doing a documentary report on the last days on Earth, a History Channel documentary that's been played several times, and it's being played again today, September 4th, 2010, and they're still playing the lies and disinformation about climate warming, global warming. They're now starting to call it in this climate change, which that's what it is, except they're saying it's warmer now than it's ever been in the history of the universe, which is wrong. It's been warmer 1600 years ago when they used to grow grapes up in England. I don't see them growing grapes up in England today, but that's what they're saying. They're kind of like trying to make you believe this. They're lying. Everything about the water rising 20 feet's a lie. Everything about the glaciers melting is a lie. They go up there in the summertime, or spring even, and they go up there and start filming the glaciers melting. They do it every year. They melt and then the snow comes and grows back part of the snow cover. But this is what happens naturally. And they go up there and they show these pictures of big chunks of ice falling off and say, look, the glaciers are melting. They're all be gone in about 20 years and we'll all be up 20 feet of water and they'll drowned everyone. We'll be a bunch of drowned rats. See, they're calling us rats that way. Because that's what we do to rats, drown them. And let's see, what else are they doing? Oh yeah, the polar bears. They think the polar bears can't swim. Polar bears are the best swimmers of all mammals. They can swim up to 300 miles easily. And they're buoyant because their fur is hollow. Not only is it hollow, the hollowness also acts as a fiber optic for the sunlight and keeps them warm. There's nothing wrong. The polar bears are about 3 times the population they were just 20 years ago. So I don't know what these liars from the Inconvenient Truth are saying, which is really a convenient lie by Al Gore, the head of the Church of Climatology. And that's what he is. He's a church of global warming. He wants you to believe that Gaia's going to die when Gaia's probably going to turn around and smack him in the, you know what, as hard as he can. Just read some of this. Here we go.
This threat of human-induced global warming is largely manufactured. I don't think it is real.
Does global warming exist, or is this just a liberal scare tactic?
There's no scientific consensus about what causes global warming or how it will affect our lives.
I find it extraordinary that anybody can regard global warming as climate change as a debate. Clearly it isn't a debate.
There's no credible debate about whether it's warming and about whether it's because of human activity. That's very clear.
You have the entire climate science community pretty much on one side, and on the other side you have what must now be half a dozen mavericks who are pretending it's not happening.
It's a hoax.
That's not true. It's come out that there's over 3,000 scientists who were put on the list that said they believed in global warming come forward and admit to the public that they never were on that list, that Al Gore and company put them on that list. And they were mad that they were put on that list because they didn't believe in the global warming. And he's saying it's like a dozen people. Well, it's a dozen outspoken people that came forward.
A total hoax.
Total hoax. It's an outrageous lie.
Every time you address the Holocaust, you don't bring somebody in that says it didn't happen. And we're at that stage now. We have Holocaust deniers, we have climate change deniers. And to be honest, I don't think there's a great deal of difference.
See what? He's comparing climate change deniers and or at least climate warming deniers that we're as bad as the people that deny the Holocaust. He's put two different things, an apple and a boulder, and tried to put them together and say they're the same. This is what it is. It's not apple and orange. This is apple and boulder. And he's trying to say that we're all deniers of the Holocaust if we believe in, if we don't believe in their climate change or climate. It's climate change, true, but not people doing it. This is what they're trying to tell you, that they got to get rid of people because there's too many of us. And that we're the ones actually causing this mess. And it's not, it's corporations, the major corporations who are polluting the planet. And they're not cleaning their mess up. This is what's going on.
Is there any doubt among scientists that global warming is occurring, that it's dangerous, and that humans are causing it to happen?
No, the debate is over.
Since losing his bid for the White House, former Vice President Al Gore has been spending most of his time on this issue, in the press, on the page, and even in your local theater.
I am Al Gore. I used to be the next president of the United States.
That's right. He's just a guy that used to be a politician, and he's a lawyer. Now, if you look at the definition in Old Latin, a lawyer is known as a liar, and how it worked back then is the best liar won the case. Let's go on.
Gore says this isn't the first time we've seen the interests of big business come into conflict with such a widespread scientific consensus.
The illusion of a debate has been purchased with millions of dollars a year spent by a few of the largest and least responsible polluters who want to fool and confuse the American people.
He's looking in the mirror again.
Do you believe nicotine is not addictive?
Yeah, and then he uses the nicotine companies and everything and says, look, they're denying that nicotine is habit forming. And it's like, again, it's the same as the guy trying to say it's the anti-Semitic people who say that they're the deniers of the Holocaust. It's just the same thing. He's using that in another sense. Apples and boulders. It's just like, I don't understand Al Gore except that he believes his own lies and is going to make a lot of money off his carbon tax credit thing that he started. He started all these businesses before he came out with that film. Do your research.
Able to purchase these quasi-scientists who would say things for money.
Well,
Again, he's looking in the mirror. Quasi-scientists. Yes, Al Gore hired a bunch of quasi-scientists. They're known as the IPCC, who deliberately got together and made up temperature lies, and it's all come out. It got leaked out, and now it's not going to work. And this is just showing you. I'm just trying to rub this in, that this guy was lying to you when that movie, The Inconvenient Truth, came out, which was really a convenient lie to make money off of carbon tax. And he's the one that's going to be one of the main beneficiaries of that tax.
you say that you don't believe, or there is no conclusive proof that cigarettes are harmful?
I would say that.
Today, everyone knows that cigarettes are highly addictive and can cause cancer, but many believe the cause of global warming has been obscured by a disinformation campaign waged by some of the big coal and oil companies. However, it is no secret among scientists what is responsible: a gas in our atmosphere known as carbon dioxide. But what's so bad about CO2?
And they're going to tell you that, ooh, we don't have enough, the planet freezes over, we have too much, oh, we're burn up like a leaf. Well, I can say we can pump as much as we want and it'd be good for the planet because there would be more and more plants growing out of it. They need the CO2 to grow, and they make more oxygen for us. So the more the merrier. I don't know what the deal is with it. Just do your research on CO2. You'll find out that gas is a harmless gas. And even if you ever watch the global warming swindle, it even explains to you all this. How CO2 is not even at the levels that they're lying to you about, and won't be for thousands of years.
Carbon dioxide is the most prevalent of the so-called greenhouse gases. That's the part of our atmosphere that traps the sun's rays, allowing only about 30% of the sun's heat to escape back into space. Without our natural cozy blanket of CO2, most of the sun's heat would escape, and our planet would literally freeze over. On the other hand, if you added too much carbon dioxide, the atmosphere would absorb more and more heat until the Earth began to resemble Venus. Average temperature, 900 degrees Fahrenheit.
Not in 1,000 years.
By analyzing ancient Arctic ice samples, scientists have been able to track both the temperatures and the CO2 levels going back thousands of years.
I say again, check out the documentary, The Global Warming Swindle, and it will explain to you that the people that actually did the ice testing saying that's a lie. It's all been a lie. They fudged the numbers just like they did the fudge temperatures and destroyed data afterwards, so you can't even go back and confirm their fudge. This is something that's criminal, and they should all be in jail for it, including Gore especially.
This data shows periods of natural warming and cooling, but one trend is indisputable. Whenever the carbon level rises, the temperature rises as well.
Nope, that's the upside down stick again. They're using the hockey stick. That's the upside down hockey stick. It doesn't rise. The CO2 doesn't rise before the temperature. The temperature rises, then the CO2 rises. Like I said, global warming swindle. Better documentary than the history is trying to lie to people here and disinformation.
Fast forward a few 100,000 years to 1900, when in the middle of one of those natural warm periods, something changed. Mankind suddenly started producing massive amounts of CO2.
Today, as your program airs, we in human civilization will put up into the atmosphere of the Earth more than 70 million tons of carbon dioxide or global warming pollution.
In one day?
In one day. Every single day.
And he believes his lies.
As it has for millions of years, the planet's temperature is following the carbon dioxide level, but this time into uncharted territory.
There is the hockey
if you look
stick.
back over the last 20 years or so, 15 or thereabouts of the hottest years on record have been over that period. Virtually every year now is hotter than the previous year.
In the nation's capital, 100 degrees.
See, what they did is they took the 1600 year ago thing out of the chart altogether. They removed that warming period 1600 years ago and just took it out of there, and then started going after that and saying, look, it's going up, it's going up, it's going. And no, it was a lie. That was all a lie. These people are just so criminal. It's just unreal. I just don't know how they get away with their criminality. Let's go with this guy on Al Gore's lying about this.
You're talking about hundreds of millions of refugees. I mean, that's huge. I mean, I think it's impossible to imagine a strain.
It is.
On the system quite that big.
It really is. We have seen what happened when 100,000 people were displaced from New Orleans and the Gulf Coast communities. And it's difficult to imagine a couple of 100 million.
Using a hurricane as an example of the water rising.
Mass migrations on a biblical scale.
If we have an ice age,
with people into new areas and the social ramifications of that are going to cause real problems.
As an estimated 1 billion people worldwide are forced inland by rising waters, the remaining...
What about being forced south because they're trying to get away from the approaching glaciers that will be reforming during the mini ice age, and they'll be heading towards warmer climate. See, this is all backwards. They're trying to tell you it's getting warmer. See, they tried to say it was getting colder in the 70s, and actually we had a warm period during that time, and it messed up their theory. So then they said, well, it must be going to continue to get warm, so we'll just say it's getting warmer. Now we're getting cooler because this is just something that happens naturally called planet Earth, and it's been doing this for millions of years.
Habitable land will ironically be gripped by a different kind of water crisis.
In the West, 75% of the water comes from snowpack. We're going to lose that snowpack. We've built up cities, huge cities, that depend totally on that water.
With the planet's fresh water in short supply, it would become increasingly difficult to grow crops, setting off a worldwide food shortage, igniting a new set of crises.
The United Nations identifies something like 150 flashpoints where wars may be fought over water.
War, famine, and drought, coupled with an unstable climate system, could push the death toll into the billions.
This is a level of disaster that the world has never seen.
I just can't believe how they just keep going on about that. There's aqua vents underneath. All they have to do is, if the UN was doing its job as it's supposed to be doing and not being a takeover of the planet, they'd be out there drilling deep wells into the aquifers underneath these deserts. These deserts all have giant aquifers under them, as well as oil. All you have to do is find the aquifers that run through, basically old riverbeds, and you drill down in there, and there's still water running, but it's running deep. And these people will not do that. They just will not do it at all. They rather let people die and call the human race instead of helping them. This is how their thinking is.
The future is by and large in our hands. We can choose between a modest warming and a radical warming.
The generation now alive, the generation that you see looking around you.
Well, that's it. I'll talk to you later.
Is the generation that
Good day.
controls the